sweaty.
Where? What?
I'm sweaty.
Where at?
On my butt crack and my balls and everywhere.
Oh, what crack in your balls?
Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, welcome to another episode of Balls in Your Face, 𝗦𝗵𝗿𝗸 𝗧𝗍𝗍. I have with me today an e-commerce mastermind. He is the host of Perfectly Mentored and founder of J-Port Media. He's been mentored by a mutual friend of ours, the good man Stan Way, as well as Shark Tank Daymond John. You must know him well. Ladies and gentlemen, I have with me today Jason Portnoy.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for doing this. Thanks for having me.
My friend, thank you for coming on. Pleasure's all mine. And you have had some very impressive mentors, as I mentioned off the top there, Daymond John being one of them. And you got some good stories from him. So why don't you tell me a bit about how you guys met and how that all came about?
Yeah, so I had a clothing brand before I decided to go into the marketing consulting world. I started this brand called True Rivalry. Long story short, got into over 250 stores across North America, but I hated the clothing world. But when I first started, I was naive enough to think I was going to build the next Under Armour, the next big sports brand. So I remember I was reading this book by Daymond John, and he says he likes helping young entrepreneurs. I think Shark Tank may have just started or it didn't start yet, but I was reading the book and I was like, okay, I'm a young entrepreneur and I need help. So let me reach out to him. So I actually went on Twitter and reached out to him. No response. A couple of days later, I reached back out to him, with a picture of his book and a picture of that line in there saying, "You said you like helping young entrepreneurs. Here I am." I actually got a DM from him saying daymondjohn.com. So I'm like, cool, awesome. I go to daymondjohn.com. There's zero contact information there at the time. There's zero way for me to reach out. So I try to message him back, but he's not following me. So I can't at that time. So I started tweeting him again saying, hey, I still can't reach you. This went on for like a month. The second time he responded, again with daymondjohn.com. And then the third time, I somehow got a hold of his assistant at the time. He's now president of the Shark Tank group right now, Ted. And we scheduled a meeting and I went in there I remember walking into, it was the Empire State Building. And I was just getting over, I had mono for 3 months.
Oof, I had that when I was a teenager. Awful.
Yeah, so I had this meeting. I couldn't miss it. I was at the tail end of it. And I got there, and I was staying at my friend's house in New York, and I got to the Empire State Building and realized I left my wallet in the car. Now, at the Empire State Building, you need your ID to get into the building, to get to the offices, and to get your pass to go up. So I don't have it. So they're trying to call Daymond or Ted or whoever's at FUBU at the time, to try to get me up. No one's answering their phone. So I'm emailing this guy, Ted, who I've never met before. Super embarrassing. And he goes, and then I hear, Jason. And I turn around and it's Daymond.
Nice. And
so he takes me in, like he just got to the building, takes me up. And I'm like, well, this is pretty embarrassing. My first time meeting you, I look like an idiot. I left my wallet. And he goes, no, it's actually memorable. That's what he said to me. So that was pretty cool. And then we had this meeting and I was expecting him to like give me $1 million and invest in my business after hearing it. So when he said, what are you up to? I'm like, I want to build the next Under Armour. And he said, cool. You have $250 million? And I said, no. And he goes, what's your next idea? And just like that. So I'm like, well, I have this t-shirt concept that I want to do. He goes, do that. And we started talking and I'm like, maybe I'm naive enough to think that I can make this as a $1 billion business. And he said something that stuck with me. And every time I meet entrepreneurs, this thought always goes to my head is, he goes, if you could hold on to that feeling of being naive enough to think you could conquer everything, like hold on to it as long as you can, because what happens is you'll start getting hit with 1 million no's and then you start doubting and then the real life takes over. To have that dream in your head of thinking like, oh man, this is the $1 billion brand, I'm going to go build this. You lose that very, very quickly. So it's very easy to lose that spark or that passion. And he said, try to, like, if there was a way to bottle that up, he could make billions of dollars selling that to people. And then it just turned into a friendship from there. The next time he agreed to meet with me like 6 months later, that turned into twice a year, then it turned into once a quarter. Then it turned into, hey, I got to run. But what are you doing? Take down my cell phone number and then let's chat more. And it just turned into a friendship. And he's one of the nicest people, super, super smart. I mean, that's a long-winded answer about Daymond John.
No,
I just have nothing but great things to say about him. The reason why I have this podcast right now that I've started, that I love, and I'm truly getting into my groove and really love it, is because I was at VaynerMedia and Gary Vaynerchuk told me to start a podcast. And I sat there and said, great, will you be on it? And he looked at me like shocked, like, I'm just surprised that more people don't ask him, right? So that's like, you're sitting there saying, wow, it's a testament to your character that you went ahead and asked. I'm just shocked that people don't ask. So when someone told me like, good for you for asking, I was like, well, what do you mean? Like he tells people to start a podcast, they just say, okay, and they walk away when they have the guy there that could either make or break their podcast, and they don't ask. So he actually told me, he said, I will say yes, but you have to have 20 episodes done before I come on. So, I mean, he told me November, December, like that could be January. The guy's busy, but he will be on because I will hit that 20 mark pretty soon. Right. And, that could be, life-changing.
Yeah, no, I've listened to it. I've seen a couple of the episodes. They're great. They're absolutely great. Like tons of great sales advice for people. So for sure, anybody listening, looking for another podcast to tune into, Perfectly Mentored is a great.
I appreciate that coming from you, because your podcasts are pretty legendary.
We're still just, it rolls fast, right? Like, yeah. I didn't start the show until back in April, since April, really. Yeah. And you just stick with it. You get good guests, and then it kind of snowballs from there. So yeah, I agree. It's a great medium. It's a great way to learn, to share information.
When I started on social media, I got local companies coming over to me saying, hey, look, I've seen what you've been doing. Do you mind helping us? We need someone that could give us some guidance on social media. So I'd go in for free, spend an hour in that guy's office, tell him what to do. They did zero of it. And then one guy decided, hey, can I hire you? And I sat there and said, sure, $500 a month, thinking that was a big price. I was nervous to even ask for $500 a month. And then quickly, as I said, $500, the guy's like, sure. I'm like, sure. I think I could have asked for a lot more there. And you learn your lesson that way. But I cut my teeth on working for people for free. And, I lost a lot of money on Facebook ads in the beginning on my own brand before I took anyone else's money into running Facebook ads. I've lost tons of money to figure out what not to do. That's the way I like to put it. Just to let you know, for all your listeners, I mean, I think the best sales book ever written, or the best business book ever written, and I'm reading it for the second time, I just finished it for the second time, is Influence. In there are the 7 weapons of influence of why people say yes. And one of them is, reciprocation, right? If you do someone a favor, they'll feel obliged to do you a favor. And you can even ask for a greater thing in return. And just going back to what you said there, yeah, I think it's a matter of giving people something. And if you're an eComm, like I said, spend this month doing a lot of prospecting, building up those audiences. It's going to be way cheaper to retarget to a warm audience come holiday time than now. I'm fascinated with messenger marketing. I really love it and believe there's a huge future there in what's going on in terms of building conversation, in terms of building brands, in terms of selling things.
Affinity building.
Yeah, I love the scalability of those one-on-one relationships that you could do now with it.
Right.
And building that and bringing that human element back to your brand. Play the long game, and ignore everything I just said and test everything for yourself.
Beautiful, man. This has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate your time, and there's been some great advice coming out.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed this.
I've got big